Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more geography now, and we are out of the M's and into the N's, starting with Namibia. Now, before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you join the Discord and follow me over at Twitch. And also, please do go check out the gaming channel here on YouTube, where I upload old streams and dumb clips. Okay, Namibia. Let's just go ahead and dive straight in.
Many of you guys in Namibian geography have told me that if you want to make the shape of Namibia on your hand, just curl your index finger, stick out your thumb, and go like this.
That's not some kind of gang sign, is it?
Let me check. Bloods, Crips, Kings, MS-13 Sureños, Common Crips. No, I think we're good. I went to a public school in Chicago.
Ah.
It's the fact that it just immediately is like, yeah, that makes sense.
Time to learn geography now! Hey everyone,
I'm in a suburb, and now I can't do. Now, I wouldn't do them like he did. I would never do that. But the fact that like I could do like I recognized also a couple of those right away. It's like, damn, living near Chicago really does do something to you, huh?
I'm your host Barbs. Namibia, South Africa's ex-wife, but now getting back together and dating again girlfriend who speaks German, kind of, and has unexplained polka dots. Yeah, Africa, love this place. You'll never be bored.
But also like at the high school, because I also went to a public high school. The high school that I went to in the suburbs, there were of course the kids that did go frequently to Chicago, into the city and stuff to hang, or had connections and did things up there. I'm not gonna snitch. I'm no snitch. Snitches get stitches, bitches. They knew those signs. They knew them well.
Bored with this continent. Let's find Namibia on the map now, shall we? Namibia is known for being one of the safest and cleanest places to visit in all of Africa. Not the cheapest, but you can still kind of get by and get lost in the maze of open space.
How much open space?
A lot. Let's take a look at the map now, shall we? First of all, Namibia is located in southern Africa with a long coast along the Atlantic. It looks like they are only bordered by Angola, Botswana, and South Africa, but if you look over here, they have this long panhandle known as the Caprivi Strip. And at the very end of it, they share a river border with Zambia and Zimbabwe as well, making it the world's only quadrupoint between sovereign nations.
You talked about it in the Botswana episode, right?
Yes, I did. Watch it again, guys. The country is divided into 14
No, I won't.
regions with the capital and largest city, Windhoek, nestled in the central
have the
Comas
time.
region. It also has the country's largest and only international airport, Windhoek's Hosea Kutako International. Otherwise, numerous domestic and regional airports and airstrips exist in every region except these three. After Windhoek, the next largest cities are Rundu in the northeast and Walvis Bay, which holds one of the two main shipping ports, Walvis Bay Harbor, which is the only natural harbor in the country, divided by the Pelican Point Sand Spit, which holds these cool saltwork evaporation fields. And then there's the smaller Luderitz Harbor further south. Each of these port cities are the final coastal stops for the largest rail network run by the national train service, Transnamib. It traverses the entire country, going into Angola and South Africa, with proposed future lines that will enter into Botswana. Now back to the Caprivi Strip thing. It looks weird, right? Why
Yes.
does Namibia have that one long panhandle? Well, basically, it kinda went like this. Well, we Germans took over Southwest Africa and East Africa. We need to connect them, but those pesky British keep blocking the way.
Tell you what, maybe we can do a bit of a trade-off.
How so?
Well, you see those Zanzibar islands? Give me them.
What?
Yeah, give me them.
That is literally off the coast of my territory.
Do it, and I'll give you a corridor to the Zambezi River. It should go all the way to the east coast, and that's what you want, right?
Okay, then give me back Heligoland.
Deal! Ha!
Ooh, what's so funny?
Oh, nothing. Thanks for doing business, David Livingstone.
What?
Germany.
Yeah, they knew a little secret. Otherwise, Namibia has quite a unique civil structure because it's huge, but with only about 3 people per square kilometer.
So, like, I could totally bury some treasure over there and, like, nobody would find it?
Yeah, but don't sail on the north coast, you could die. The Portuguese called it the gates to hell. The Bushmen called it the land god made in anger. But today, it's commonly known as the Skeleton Coast. This strange
All of those names are very ominous.
geological phenomena in which colossal orange desert sand dunes converge right into the ocean, where you can find tons of shipwrecked vessels of ill-prepared seafarers.
An ocean of sand meets, like, an ocean of water?
That was
God fucking damn it, dude. An ocean of sand meets an ocean of water.
Beautifully illustrated, Keith. On top of that, there are quite a few notable places of interest that you might want to consider checking out if you come, such as Kolmanskop Ghost Town, Standerberg
I will not be visiting any fucking ghost town that has sites like that. That's fucking terrifying.
Standerberg Castle, the Hoba meteorite, the largest meteorite in the world, the
Dude, can you make a sword out of that meteorite rock? Can I be like Sokka?
sand dunes of Sossusvlei, the Gibeon meteorites, the Solitaire
They
installation,
have a lot of meteorites.
the dinosaur footprints of this farm, the Tropic of Capricorn Crossing, Christkirke, the Cheetah Conservation Fund, Crocodile Ranch, the Ombalantu Baobab Tree, the Twiffelfontein rock carvings, Independence Memorial Museum, and Heroes Acre. Whew, yeah, lots of space and lots of cool sites, especially the natural ones. Which brings us to... Now, Namibia is quite a dry country.
How dry is it?
The driest nation in sub-Saharan Africa. But Namibia isn't all sand and desert. There's quite a bit of lush vegetation too, you just have to know where to find it. First of all, the country is generally divided into 5 different geographic areas. Along the coast and north, you have the oldest desert in the world, the Namib Desert, which is where the skeleton coast that we talked about lies. Just west, you have the Central Plateau, a dry region where the tallest peak in the country lies, Brandenburg Mountain, with Kungenstein Peak at over 2,500 meters high. This is also where most of the population lives and where you can find most of the arable land. In the south, there's the Great Escarpment, a hilly rocky shrubland with the longest river in the country, the Fish River, which also has the Fish River Canyon, the largest canyon in Africa. In the northeast and the Caprivi Strip, you have the Bushveld, the greenest and luscious...
You know what this series has done? It's made me feel a whole lot better about the names I give to areas and, geographical sites in my fantasy world that I tell my stories in. Because, man, we humans suck at naming things. Right? Like, watch this series if you are an aspiring writer, author, etc., etc. And it gives you comfort because you're like, wow, humans all over the world, yes, we do have the occasional very fucking sick names like Skeleton Coast, what was it, the native one? It was like the land that God was mad at or whatever. Fucking dope as shit. But then you got things like Fish River. Right? Like, or, I think there's a place in Britain that's literally means town. If you translate the old English, Anglo-Saxon or whatever, like Burgton, Burghton. I don't know if that's an actual place. It's just one. I just know that those two words mean town. Berg means town. Ton means town. Boom. You got a name that doesn't sound super stupid, but like if you translate it, it does sound stupid. But anyways.
Is part of Namibia, with the savanna and forests that extend all the way to the Okavango Delta and Zambezi River. It is also here where you can find the famous Etosha Pan. At over 120 kilometers long, it is one of the largest salt flats in the world.
Hey, I have one of those. Let's hang out sometime.
The largest natural lake in the country, though, is this tiny little guy, only about 6,600 square meters, Lake Guinness, which is actually a sinkhole lake caused by a collapsed cave. Finally, we reached the world-renowned Kalahari Desert in the east, famous for being a strange place with unique plant and wildlife species, since it kind of gets more rain than most other deserts. Also, fun side note, in the Namib Desert, there's a strange natural phenomena known as fairy circles. And here's random Jillian explaining what fairy circles are.
Okie dokie. Fairy circles are a strange natural phenomena only found in dry regions of Africa and Australia. The grass naturally grows in a circle pattern with an empty dirt or sand pit in the middle. Scientists have theories as to why this happened, but so far the exact explanation still remains shrouded in enigma.
Thank you, Jillian.
Yep.
In the meantime, it's time for my
I wonder what the local cultures have given as reasons for. Obviously, we have the name fairy circle, so of course, we got a little bit of a hint as to perhaps what the locals what stories the locals may have attributed to those circles. But I'm curious about more.
triple shot of espresso break, which means Noah takes over the rest of the segment.
Did somebody say Noah? Namibia is unique in that despite much of the country being dry, it's not completely inhospitable. Over 200 species of mammals, like the national animal of the...
Dude, how do you get your biceps so fucking perfect? What the fuck, man?
Oryx can be found, as well as over 600 species of birds and over 4,300 plants, at least 700 of which are endemic. Much of their industries are centered around production of resources like meat,
Bro, his voice is so perfect too. Oh.
fish, minerals, and diamonds. Especially diamonds, they're one of the top 10 producers.
Nobody beats Russia in diamonds.
And speaking of resources, food. First off, from
Oh,
what we
fucking
were
hell.
told, Namibians love meat. And when the meat-loving Germans came in, well, let's just say it wasn't too hard to agree on something.
Look, we hated your colonial rule, but we really dig the bratwurst, schnitzel, and what is that crazy thing you do with the whole pig?
Oh, you mean the Spanferkel?
Yes! Man, you guys are so crazy.
Yeah.
That was weird. Okay.
Some dishes you guys, the Namibian geography suggests we mention, might include things like kapana, silver cod, and luderitz crayfish, fat cakes, poppin'
Ooh.
flace, mopane worms, poiki, Kalahari truffles, and those gigantic omojoa mushrooms. The national drink oshikindu, and everywhere you can find Namibian-style game barbecue known as braai, featuring legally hunted animals like kudu, springbok zebra, and crocodile. And speaking of which, you'll find that the people of Namibia, much like the diverse set of animals, come from a myriad of colorful traditions and customs. Which brings us to...
Thank you, Noah. Follow him on Instagram.
No problem. Excuse me.
So anyway, now Namibia is huge, but has very few people.
I can see the boom mic right there.
Like less than the population of Jamaica, yet they still retain these ever so slightly noticeable German undertones. And that's a whole other story, we'll explain soon. But first, Namibia has about 2.7 million people and is the second least densely populated sovereign nation in the world after Mongolia. The country has quite a few people groups, but the largest group, about half of the population, being Ovambo, followed by the Kavango at 9%. Mixed people of all types make up about 8%. The Herero and Damara each take up about 7% each, and the rest are various other people groups that we'll discuss later, like the Whites, the Himba, the Lozi, the San, and so on. They use the Namibian dollar as their currency, which is pegged to the South African rand. They use the types D and M plug outlets, and they drive on the left
No! Namibia! That's the wrong side of the road! No! Never getting rid of this bit, no matter how overplayed it is.
side of the road. Now back to the people thing. During the scramble for Africa in the late 1800s, the area of what is now Namibia fell under German rule for about 30 years. It got kind of messy, there was a genocide, we'll talk about that later, until finally South African forces took over in 1915. Anyway, the thing is, despite Germany having a short presence in the area, their legacy still kind of clung on and lives on to this day. And you see in things like road signs, buildings, there's even some German radio stations and a newspaper, so yeah. Nonetheless, only about 2 to 3% of the population actually speaks it natively, mostly the white German population. However, it is taught in many schools and used as a commercial language. Up until 1990, it was actually a co-official language with English and Afrikaans. Faith-wise, most Namibians at least nominally identify as Christian, somewhere at 80 to 90%, mostly belonging to Protestant branches, especially the largest one being Lutheran. It was brought over from German and surprisingly Finnish missionaries in the 19th century.
And that's
Finland.
the closest thing that I've ever seen to an African colony. No bloodshed. Cheers.
Culturally speaking, depending on how you compartmentalize them, there are somewhere between 10 to 15-ish main people groups in Namibia. But basically, it can be broken down into 4 family categories: the Bantu, the Khoisan, the Mixed, and the Whites. Let's go over some of them, shall we? In a nutshell, the Khoisan groups in Namibia, like the Nama, the San, and the Kung, are kind of like the original inhabitants. Yes, that little exclamation mark is a click sound, and I'm not even joking, it's a real people group. They are one of the oldest cultures in the world, dating back to the Stone Age, famous for having various techniques that have helped them develop into the harsh climates. They're also famous for their distinguishing features. They are some of the only black people in the world that have natural epicanthic folds on their eyes from birth, similar to East Asians.
Epic what?
Epicanthic fold, yeah, that's like the medical term for those, the eyes, you know, the ding 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 ding. We can do that, we're Asian.
Send your complaints at geographylater@gmail.com.
In addition, they are known for being the originators of the click languages, you know, the ones with the sounds. Later on, other Bantu groups migrated from West Africa around 1000 BC, and they would adopt these sounds into their languages like Zulu or Xhosa. But Khoisan is kind of the one that started it all.
You know that language they speak in Black Panther? The Wakandan language? You know it's actually the Xhosa language from South Africa? It's so original and unique. Thank goodness there's such an original click language like Xhosa.
Just let it go.
Now let's talk about
So have I been pronouncing it wrong? I'm not gonna try the click that Barbie did because I think I could do it. I've never been good at those. But I always thought it was just pronounced Josa. Like the XH made a J. Josa. Guess I was wrong.
About the Bantu groups. The largest Bantu group, known as the Ovambo or Owambo, are people that are found mostly in the north along the border with Angola. They love wearing the color fuchsia, and they have this really cool fruit harvest festival. The Kavango and
That's a
Lozi
really
people
good
live mostly in the
fuchsia
lush
color.
greener panhandle areas by the Caprivi Strip. They are famous for their woodwork and have an interesting king and queen boat ceremony. The Herero people mostly live in the central and eastern parts of the country. They are famous for their colorful Victorian-style gowns inspired by German and Finnish missionaries who settled there. In addition, the cousins of the Herero people, the Himba up north, are probably the most isolated group that maintains their traditional way of life. They're famous for using ojize paste made out of butterfat and ochre, used as a sunscreen that they put on their skin and hair to protect against the sun and heat. According to tradition, the Damara people, possibly the oldest Bantu group in Namibia, were enslaved by the click-speaking Nama people and adopted their language, even though they are Bantu. You see a lot of Khoisan influence in them.
Keep in mind, these are just traditional celebratory images. Most people dress Western style regularly.
Like animal skin clothing and hunting techniques. And after the Bantu and Khoisan groups, you have the mixed peoples like the Coloreds, the Orlams, the Basters.
What'd you say?
I know, it sounds bad, but that's literally what they call themselves. These are the people that have both European and African ancestry to varying degrees. They even developed their own communities and traditions, much like those in South Africa. And finally, you have the Namibian whites, mostly Germans and Afrikaners. The German community of Namibians actually still holds a lot of tradition from Germany. They have their own African-style Oktoberfest, which everybody takes part in because beer. Now, there are many other
Valid.
smaller groups within the main four, but these are
I don't like beer.
probably the most noticeable ones that people will talk about in Namibia.
But wait, you forgot to talk about the monarchs.
Oh yeah, we don't really have too much time to get into it, but the country has over 30 traditional and constituent monarchs and 5 chiefs that rule over legally recognized areas, but they have little or no sovereign government power. In the meantime, history, in the quickest way I can condense it. Khoisan groups, Bantu migration. This Portuguese dude stops by, but he doesn't really care. Orlam people cross over in the 1800s. They make peace with the Nama people. Nama Herero War. Germany comes in. It becomes German Southwest Africa. The two groups that fought each other are now joining up and they fight the Germans. The first genocide of the 20th century. 1915, South Africa takes over. Weird police zones and confining people groups to certain territories. A separatist group starts and rebels, thinking about an independent state, or as I like to call it, Namibia. Independence from South Africa in 1990, multi-party democracy introduced, Caprivi Strip tries to secede, but Namibia is like, oh no. And here we are today. Otherwise, some notable people from Namibia or of Namibian descent might include people like Anna Mungunda, Sam Nujoma, this musician and civil rights activist, Michelle McLean, Gwen Lister, Frankie Fredericks, Joanna Benson, Ricardo Manetti, Gaza, Knowledge Kati and Herod Pupkewitz, Paulo Sambunda, Harry Simon, Behati Prinsloo. Whew, for a place with fewer people than Jamaica, they sure have quite a few notable people. And speaking of places outside of Namibia, let's talk about their friends, shall we? If Africa was a family, Namibia would kind of be like this straight B student. You know, they kind of coast by comfortably and keep things chill and everyone just kind of gets along with them. For Germany, things are generally amicable as Namibia has had the highest concentration of Germans in Africa for a while. Tourists love coming. They give them lots of investments and machinery. Considerable numbers of Namibians live in Germany, and some have even become famous, like Eric Sell, winner of X Factor Germany. Finland also surprisingly has great relations, as they invest heavily in their forestry and environment sectors, which not only boosted trade, but also prompted Prime Minister Nahas Angula to visit. Cuba was a major player that helped them during apartheid and independence years, and to this day, they still help with scholarships and medical support. As a member of the SADC, they generally get along with all their neighbors. Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi kind of winked their eyes as they passed by, since they were also under the Germans as East Africa during occupation years. However, every single Namibian I have talked to has told me that their best friends would probably be Botswana and South Africa. Botswana is kind of like the slightly richer sister that always tags along for the adventures. The two share much culturally, especially in the Khoisan people groups found in the Kalahari Desert that they both share. Trade and business is also huge between them. South Africa, though, is kind of like the husband they divorced but then started to date again. The two are inseparable. Not only is the vast majority of trade and business done with South Africa, but so many Namibian and South Africans travel to see each other, often marrying each other, having families. They both speak English and Afrikaans. They both love biltong. Namibia even stopped using daylight savings time to match up with South Africa. In the end,
So
they're a cute
romantic.
couple. In conclusion, Namibia may be huge with lots of space, but with millions of colors, sights, sounds, tastes, and German beer, it's definitely not empty. Stay tuned, Nauru is coming up next.
And that was Geography Now, Namibia. This was a good episode. Again, I would have liked more food. Definitely Namibia has so much more food than what was shown. I'm willing to bet on it that they got so much more good food. Namibian good food. wanted to see more. Some of that stuff looked really fucking good. And it got me hungry. I always watch these before I eat lunch. So, for the day. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.